But the money continues to go up, up, and up. And we were having the discussion like, are we ever going to see $1 billion contract? Where are we headed in college football with these college football head coaches? So Kirby Smart just got a $130 million deal. That puts him right ahead of Dabo. So he's now the highest paid coach. Is Jimbo Fisher not coaching still the highest paid guy in college football? Now that Nick Saban is retired? Because he got paid out like $100 million every red cent of it.
Yeah, no, it's like $40 million of it can be paid. It's gonna be paid out over like 6 more years. So yeah, no.
Isn't it funny that you could go? I bet he's in the top 10 in terms of coaching salaries in college football. Who's in the top 10? Kirby Smart, or not Kirby Smart, Jimbo Fisher. That's why you got to get a nickname, right? You got Jimbo, you got Dabo, and you got Kirby. Those are your money makers. When do you think we are going to see, and is Dan Lanning going to be the next big-time money-making head coach? When you look at what's going on with NIL, and also I wonder, much like we see in the NFL, right? The quarterback on a rookie deal. I wonder if like these collectives are going to be like, yeah, we're not going to be paying the coaches. We're going to be paying the players more. Is there going to be a time? College football question. Then we're going to open up Fancy Coffee Friday. Is there going to be a time, much like we see in the NFL right now, where the best player on a college football team is making more than the head coach? Is that ever going to happen? I think it is. I'll bet you at some point, some player is going to be able to bring in between NIL and ultimately they're going to start paying the players anyways. Will we see a player in college football ever make more than the head coach? I'll bet we do. I bet we do in the next 5 years. But that day is not today, because today is Friday. It is the end of the week. We have put in a good, solid work week, and it is now time to celebrate. We celebrate one way and one way only on this particular program. That's right. It is time for Fancy Coffee Friday. Here we go.
You've waited all week. It's time to treat yourself for Fancy Coffee Friday.
That's right. It is Fancy Coffee Friday. Cheers to the hardest working audience in all of sports. We appreciate you hanging out with us, whether that is just for a smidge of time or whether it's for the entire 3 hours. We appreciate each and every one of you. Even you, Clint, who sent in an email to my boss saying that I am the Kardashian of sports radio hosts. We appreciate you, because you know what? We'll take the Kardashian of sports radio, Brenden. That's what I got. But you know what? You're listening, and we appreciate it. The numbers, the momentum on this particular program keeps going up, up, and up. Brick by brick, we are building it on this show, and we appreciate each and every one of you. So cheers to you, hardest working audience on a Fancy Coffee Friday. Cheers to you, super producer Brenden. Let's have a fantastic show. Let's wrap up the week in style. We got some Blazer content coming up. We got Round Ball Rock, all coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but there was this pretty interesting report that came out that essentially said, is it Matt Ishbia of the Phoenix Suns? Matt Ishbia, who was a young entrepreneur. It's a fun word to say.
Good chance he owns your home mortgage, folks.
Do you think he does? What does he own?
Between him and Dan Gilbert, it's like, I think like 60% of America or something like that. It's pretty insane, actually.
I have to do some research whether
You
Matt
should.
Ishbia owns my mortgage before I start ripping him to shreds here in the next 20 minutes. Like,
yeah,
does,
you never know.
like,
I don't
does
think he can bring up your rate, though, so I think you're good.
Yeah, he better not.
He can't, that's locked.
I got a really good rate.
That's good.
Got that 2020 interest rate, baby. Are you ever going to sell? Never.
Genius.
Anywho, Matt Ishbia, who owns the Phoenix Suns and obviously came under fire because sources from inside the Phoenix Suns say this is a clown show. Actually, they said they believe the term was Looney Tunes. Do you have any frame of reference to Looney Tunes? When you hear Looney Tunes, what do you think of? Because I think Looney Tunes is before your time, and I don't think really had a life
Space
after my
Jam.
Looney Tunes. Space Jam was the last Looney Tune thing, wasn't it?
Not so when I was born, like Space Jam came out when I was born. So as soon as I don't remember when I watched that for the first time, but to this day it was like really cool because, there was the Michael Jordan montage in the beginning. And as a kid, I'm like, oh, look, there's the Blazers. When you see them on there, it's just doing that. And then they tried again in 2003 with Brenden Frazier as the lead. It was Looney Tunes Back in Action. And it was
okay.
And again, as a 7-year-old, that was pretty cool. But, it was those two main movies. They weren't really like Looney Tunes on TV, per se.
Yeah, because I love Looney Tunes.
Yeah, no, I love them, too.
I was such a Bugs Bunny fan. Like,
what's up,
here
Doc?
we are, Pismo Beach, and all the clams we can eat. He's not. He's in a bullfighting ring, and I must have taken a left turn at Albuquerque. Stop steaming up my tail. Anyways. Matt Ishbia was... Is it duck season or is it rabbit season? It's baseball season.
Well, Justin, as a Beaver fan, it was always duck season growing up, too.
Is it duck season or is it rabbit season? That's what I think. Is it duck season or is it rabbit season? It's baseball season.
Classic.
Yosemite Sam, and there was some violence, too. A lot of guns. It's probably why Looney Tunes went away. A lot more guns in Looney Tunes. Elmer Fudd had a double-barrel shotgun.
He did.
Yosemite Sam had two... he had two guns. Marvin the Martian had a laser gun. A lot of guns.
It's true. There were a lot of weapons. And, they were always trying to drop the boulder on the Roadrunner.
Dude.
I mean,
yeah.
Or Acme rockets or what. I mean, it was
all those
a lot
things.
of weapons, Justin.
That being said, Matt Ishbia's Phoenix Suns team was called Looney Tunes. He said he doesn't know what he's talking about. He thinks he knows basketball because he sat at the end of the bench at Michigan State, but he doesn't know basketball, and he's trying to make all these decisions. And we kind of saw the way that they built that team down in Phoenix going I guess if they pop, they could outscore some teams, but those are some old players. Even Devin Booker, young in terms of age, but experienced in terms of miles on those NBA legs, but they didn't have any secondary help. They didn't have any depth, and boom, 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 they go out in the first round. 3-2-1 Cancun. And so he was called Looney Tunes. So he came out firing on all cylinders. And he said, you know what? There's 29 other teams in this league, and I would bet you 26 other teams would trade places with us. And a lot of people said, well, Matt, I don't think that's the truth at all. Because the Celtics wouldn't, the Knicks wouldn't, the Cavs wouldn't, the Magic wouldn't, Pacers wouldn't, Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Clippers, no. Mavericks, no. All right, there's 10. There's 10 right there. So, in the spirit of would you rather, if you could pull the old switcheroo, as they say. Is that the old switcheroo? We're going to go with that. Looking at the Blazers situation, how many situations would you say the Blazers are in a better position then? Now, to credit Dave Deckert and Blazers Edge, this is what inspired this conversation. Now, we're not going to completely rip off his article. I would highly recommend everybody just go to Blazers Edge, read that article, show him some love. We are also borrowing the idea and borrowing the inspiration. So let's start here. Let's define some terms, young Brenden. What are some of the things, when you look at the situation that the Blazers are in, that are most important? Youth. You have got flexibility. Draft picks. And I think under the flexibility, right, you are overpaying someone. Places of need. When you look at like where situation for situation, superstars, what's like the number one? Is it kind of flexibility, being able to move? Because we've seen that before where you get locked into certain deals and certain players, and if it's not working, well, you're stuck.
Flexibility is important. You know, for me, Justin, I really value draft picks and having, a clear runway to be able to allow those players to play. And if there's one issue, like right now as it currently stands with Portland heading into this next season, Justin, they're not due to have anybody gone. I think the only free agent is Moses Brown. It's hard to know if he'll be back or not. But
he's not coming back, is he?
But
Moses Brown ain't coming back. Robert Williams is gonna be here.
Yeah, they bring back pretty much the whole team, but yet they're scheduled to have 4 draft picks. So with that, it's like, are you going to trade your picks? Are you going to trade away players? The Blazers are actually not low enough in salary overall to be considered a rebuilding team. So I've said this forever. Money's going to have to move, Justin, whether that's, moving off one of the guards, maybe it's, moving off Malcolm Brogdon, maybe it's seeing what the Anthony Simons market holds, but
that all adds to the flexibility.
Yes,
totally. You have options.
Yes.
Where there are certain teams that don't have any options. Like you got what you got.
And that's where the
Milwaukee Bucks looking in your direction. You've
Yeah.
got $500 million sitting there in Dame and Giannis. Now, some people might say that's money well spent. We'll see what happens next year if they stay healthy. We shall discuss. For me, biggest thing, if you're not trying to win a championship, then what are we even doing here? Right? And I think that's going to factor in this discussion is, are you on a pathway? Is there a plan to try to win a championship? Or are you on a pathway to just being relevant and kind of good? Because I think there are two very different things. Should we start at the bottom? I would say the Blazers are in a better position than both the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards. Brenden, what say you?
I'm curious what, for the most part, I would say yes. I'm curious to know, it can't be this bad because, I do think, Monty Williams is a really good coach.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Detroit is, got a culture problem, right, Justin? They've lost for so long, it's hard to get over that. But you've had a couple years of, if the Blazers had a number 1 pick a couple years ago and they were still winning 14 games, you go, that's kind of an abject failure. So, yeah.
So, guys that Detroit, I'm sure, is hanging their hat on right now. Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. Is Fournier still a guy?
Not really.
Remember when he had that run?
He did.
He had that run in New York?
Notice how he's not in New York.
No.
Thibodeau's like, yeah, you're gone.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I would, especially with the Wizards having to hang on to Jordan Poole's contract. Yeah. With Jordan Poole now being a bench player, Justin, that might be the worst contract in the NBA.
So
yes,
I think
Blazers
we can
are
fairly
better.
say worst situation in the NBA right now, Washington Wizards. Because at least the Pistons have Cade Cunningham. And they have got...
You're right. Yeah, it probably is.
And they have got Ivy. Right? Those are two young guys that seemingly look like capable basketball players that maybe flip a switch and get going. Wizards don't have anybody, right?
You have Jordan Poole and
Jordan Poole, who's a mess.
But now you got Kyle Kuz, man. That's about it.
So the Wizards are the worst.
Yeah, for sure. I'll hang on that hat for sure.
Are the Blazers in a better situation than the Charlotte Hornets? That's going to come down to Brandon Miller versus Scoot.
Yes.
Right? Is Brandon Miller versus Scoot going to be the Trae Young, Luka Doncic?
Yes.
I hope so, because both of them turned out to be pretty good. And I hope that that's what it ultimately ends up to be, is that those two, both someone in the postseason, right? The Trae Young had a run a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
Luka's on a run right now.
So here's my question.
But they're going to be that. Hopefully that back and forth, which means they're both relevant.
Whose second star is better? Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton or LaMelo Ball healthy? That's
a good question.
That settles the conversation for me, because you're right.
I am so biased because I still look at LaMelo Ball as that middle school punk who was on all my Facebook videos, because that's how long ago it was. I know he's not. I know that he has turned himself into, he was rookie of the year, and he's turned himself into a pretty solid pro, but
still only 22 years old.
But you know what I mean? Like, I still see him as that middle school player that, like, on YouTube was getting kicked out of games and shooting shots in JV games from half court, and then.
Yeah, we forgot about it this year because he only played in 25 games, but just a casual 25, 8-5. I mean.
So we say that's a push.
Yeah,
That's
I would.
a push?
I would. Yep. So it's close. Charlotte.
San Antonio, no. Everybody wants Wemby. Wemby stays healthy. He's going to be
he might be a $1 billion player, as Justin and I mentioned yesterday.
I think the Grizzlies are in a better position because we know that Ja Morant can be a top 10 player in the league. We know he can. Will he? I don't know. But we know he can be. There's nobody on the Blazers right now that is anywhere close to the talent level that Ja Morant has.
And I really like JJJ.
You really do.
Solid player.
Here's an interesting one. Because a year ago, we would have said, no question, this team is better off than the Blazers. How about the Utah Jazz? They've got a lot of draft picks.
They do.
They have a GM in Danny Ainge who has proven that he can build a championship team.
Brad Stevens enjoying the fruits of that labor.
He really is. To Brad Stevens' credit, he took over that Ferrari and did not crash it. Matter of fact, kind of did some upgrades.
Can you go from like a Ferrari to like a Lambo? Is that an upgrade? Like, what's an upgrade from a Ferrari, real quick?
It all depends on what kind of car guy you are.
It's fair. Gearheads.
Like, I think Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari, whatever one you are, that is the top of
What's
the
like
line.
a Rolls? What's like a
and then there's Rolls Royce, but that's a different, again.
Yeah. Apples to oranges kind of a thing. Yeah.
Anyone, like, if you were a Ferrari guy, you would be like, no, Ferrari is the best. And if you're a Lamborghini guy, you're like, no, Lamborghini's the best. Porsche would do the same thing. And they all just, and then there's like Rolls Royce, McLaren. These are all F1 people, except for Rolls Royce.
So with
the
Jazz,
but the Utah Jazz have got Danny Ainge.
Yes.
But you sold on Lauri Markkanen being a marquee name. Like, your best player is Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Utah's, and here's the thing, right? I'm not sold on
John Collins used to be good. Is he good anymore?
I'm not sold on Utah's players. I would take Portland's players over Utah. But here's the thing you just mentioned, Justin. So just a quick little math here. Mm-hmm. Between now, the next 3 drafts, Danny Ainge has 10 first-round picks.
So many first-round picks.
Now, Justin, correctly so, says, hey, those aren't players. And I would
They're not.
Push back.
They will eventually become players.
And
they might stink.
In normal cases, you're absolutely right. Justin, this is the same guy who drafted Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I'll leave you at that.
I got you.
So he
are they
doesn't
going to have
drafts very much.
But Jason Tatum was number 1 overall?
3.
Number 3 overall?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be drafted number 3. Like, it depends on ping pong balls, I guess.
Yeah, they've got a lot of other teams.
You can have Danny Ainge, you can scout him out, but if you don't have that pick.
That's true.
You don't have that pick.
But yeah, so that'll be interesting. But no, I would take Portland's players over Utah's players.
Are the Blazers in a better situation? I don't think so than the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets feel like they're right on the cusp. I feel like the Houston Rockets are the Blazers want to be next year.
I really like their big man. He's really good. And Jalen Green's turned out to be good. You know, it was kind of an interesting year, Justin, because, like, would you take a team that's led by Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got some young pieces that have done well, too.
And they got one of the Thompson guys.
Yeah, I would go Rockets.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think the Rockets are where the Blazers want to be in a year.
I think they're slightly, well, not slightly, but I like Ime Udoka a lot. I'll leave it at that.
I would like to see one full season of Chauncey Billups coaching a healthy team and a roster that is not afraid that trade deadlines coming around, they're getting moved on. I would just
Shut
like
it
one.
down.
You know what I mean? I'm a simple man. I'm a simple fan with simple wishes. Just give him one season where you're not trying to lose on purpose.
Justin's meat and potatoes, folks. He just wants to see a winning team try to win.
I wish potatoes didn't make me fat because they are so good.
It's like the most.
Meat and potatoes is the best. It is the best combo of food.
But it's like generally used as like a simple man term.
I know.
Which is kind of interesting because it's like meat and potatoes. Like,
that's the best.
Yeah. Like, anyway, back to your
steak with mashed potatoes and gravy. Anyways.
Speaking of which, something there that we'll circle back to in the mailbag. So keep that in mind.
The meat and potatoes?
Just meats in general.
Oh.
Some interesting meat statistics we're going to have to check in on.
Oh, no.
So, yes. Anyway, back to that later.
I think the Blazers are in a better position than both the Nets and the Raptors. Am I nuts? Am I nuts on that?
No.
Now I'm biased because I think the Scoot DA thing's going to work. I really do. I'm not saying it's going to win you a championship. I think the Scoot DA thing, though, is going to work. I think you're going to be able to get to maybe 35 wins.
He's going to get better. That's the thing. This is going to be his worst
Scoot's going to get better, and I think DA is a good player.
The Nets, it's interesting because I really like Miles Bridges. He's a really good player. You could make the case he's better than anybody on Portland's roster, right? It's possible. Yeah. Same with Toronto and Scotty Barnes. Which
I always forget about him.
Is
he the most forgotten about player in the NBA? Is like he's really good, but he's in Toronto.
They're going to be rebuilding now, so it's maybe a push on both those teams. Maybe some more established players. They won more, but I don't think it means a whole lot. If the Blazers didn't shut it down, they probably would have won as many games.
All right, let's get nuts, shall we?
I like it.
Are the Blazers in a better position than the Golden State Warriors? 4-time NBA champion Golden State Warriors, who still have Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Steve Kerr as their head coach. They don't have Bob Myers, best last name in all of basketball.
He's just, just ho-hum, just consulting for the Washington Commanders now, but you can go from sport to sport, apparently.
Roster construction is roster construction, my man. He's also sitting there on ESPN going like, I wouldn't do that.
He's like, I didn't want to deal with this impending Golden State free agency, so I got the heck out.
Honest question. Who has, and I might be a delusional Blazer fan here, even bringing this up. Who has a path to a championship? Golden State, which they're going to have to do a soft rebuild around Steph, or the Portland Trail Blazers, who ripped everything down to the studs this year and is now rebuilding. Path to a championship. Because to me, that's all this is. If you want to talk about like what Ishbia said, like they'd switch rosters with us, like they wouldn't because you currently don't have a path to a championship. I don't believe, and I love Kevin Durant.
Yeah, we may come under some fire for this, but I'm gonna say the Trailblazers, and that's only because
I think we're still good in this town.
Other than LeBron James, I've never seen a player start to do like when a player hits 35, Justin, like, and Steph's going to be 37 next season. And now I'm not saying that Steph still can't.
He might be special though.
He might be.
He might be like your Tom Brady, you know, where it's just like he's going to figure out how to get his and how to get his shots.
So here's my question with that, Justin. It's like, do you like, sure, maybe they like, can Clay be that guy? Clay's not going to take a discount to stay.
Now Clay's gone.
Okay,
Clay's gone.
Who's going to take on Chris Paul's money?
I don't know.
It's a lot of money.
He's gone too, though.
Do they like Andrew Wiggins, who's due a ton of money over the next 4 years? Do they like Draymond, who's like they're just
I hear what you're saying financially. I just if you go where I'm path to a championship,
I would say the Blazers, but barely.
Still got stuff there.
Barely.
We got more coming up on the big show. We got Round Ball Rock coming up in just a bit. Quickly, I do want to tell you though about my good friends at DeBella, because I've told you about them all the time. They're Oregon's home improvement experts. They specialize in roofing, siding, windows, bath renovations, and with May being here, it's a great time to take care of your projects at home. Plus, DeBella will come to you. Schedule and provide you with a free estimate. It's easy. You can trust them. 15,000 five-star reviews on Google. And now DeBella has a fantastic financing promotion. No payments until 2025. So contact DeBella today for roofing, siding, windows, bath projects. DeBella, Oregon's home improvement expert. By the way, there was a Britney Spears headline that popped up on my feed. It's not good. It's not good for Brit. We're praying for you, Brittany. All right, we got to wrap up our number one. Like we mentioned, there were 2 closeout games in the NBA last night that saw the Indiana Pacers moving on to the second round, as well as the New York Knicks. Still have one more series to wrap up in the East and in the West. So let's dive in to Round Ball Rock. All right, quickly, before we talk Pat Bev, games tonight. Cavs can close it up, but they got to go to Orlando. It's been a weird series. You've had 4 blowouts, right? 2 blowouts for the Cavs, 2 blowouts for the Magic, and one possession game that came right down to the wire. So they now head back to Orlando. Magic 3.5-point favorite. You see Game 7? Brenden, you calling Game 7?
No.
Cleveland closes it out, huh?
I think the Magic pull off the road win.
That's what I'm saying. If they do, they would force Game 7.
Yeah. So I do think this goes 7.
There we go. It's the most forgotten about series.
It is.
It's okay to flip flop them.
Well, because they play the Celtics.
It's been on NBA. Yeah, whoever wins this is getting the Celtics. And the Celtics are just like, yeah, please go to Game 7, play some more.
Yeah, I'd like to see it go to 7. I would.
And then another potential closeout game, the Mavericks heading back home. They're going to be taking on the Clippers. Dallas, 7.5-point favorites.
Kawhi going to play?
I was just going to look that up. Let's see. Out for Game 6.
Gosh. What a joke.
He's hurt.
Then he's hurt every year.
He's hurt a lot. Yes, that is true.
That's ridiculous. The Raptors are like, thank you for 1 year.
All right, here's what I'm going to say about Kawhi Leonard. Because it's not Kawhi's fault anymore. It's everybody else's fault. There's that old fable. I think it's a fable where it's like, hey, there's a snake at your doorstep. And it's like, I promise you I'm not going to bite. I promise you I'm not going to bite. I promise you. You're like, yeah, you are. You're a snake. Snakes bite. And then finally you go, okay, all right, snake, come on in. And then he bites you. And you're like, what? You said? You're like, you're a snake. I'm a snake. It's like.
Very famous fable.
I think I butchered it, but.
No, it was spot on.
At this point, you bring Kawhi Leonard onto your team, you might get NBA Finals MVP. He's been twice. You might also get, I shall not risk anything in my body ever if I am not feeling what I believe is 100%, even though maybe the doctors and the trainers say I'm at 100%. Because he got mad at the trainers in San Antonio.
And Pop, yeah.
And didn't he also get frustrated with the Clippers 2 years ago?
Never was frustrated with Toronto, but was happy to leave. Funny how that works.
Got his ring.
Bye.
Board man got paid.
I like Justin said,
LA.
a hired gun, man.
But at this point, it's like, you know what you get with Kawhi Leonard. You know what you're going to get. And you know that if he does not feel 100% healthy, he ain't playing.
Dude, Justin, I'll ask you. I asked you this before, but as time goes on and Steve Ballmer moves into his new toilets arena.
By the way, we can make fun of it.
It's so cool, though.
It's the best.
Oh, it's fun.
Every
it's a fun
arena
make
should
fun
follow suit. 3 times the toilets.
Yeah.
Go to a concert.
Yeah.
Go to a concert.
It's a fun, like I'm jealous, make fun of. Like, I wish Moda Center was going to get toilets this offseason. But, Justin mentioned him yesterday. This offseason, if you're Steve Ballmer and you're sitting down with your GM, Lawrence Frank, are you not looking back going, gosh, we are going to regret Shea for the rest of our days, man? I mean, that's going to get worse and worse every year, Justin.
I still think they have got a shot in the next 2 years, but it's getting smaller and smaller, and you're going to make a run at it.
Do they have a bigger window than Dame and Giannis, or smaller window?
No. Look, I know you feel your certain type of way about Damian Lillard, and I respect that, and that's passion, that's fandom, that's what we do on this show. I'm not exactly there, but I still think Giannis is a wagon. I still think, and maybe I'm 2 years too late.
Let me just ask you.
I still think of and I know he was hurt last year,
Sure.
and they got bounced, and they got hurt this year, and you're just like, Justin, you just made all those claims about Kawhi Leonard. Why wouldn't you make the same claims about Giannis? And that's fair. The reason is I'm a hypocrite. I don't know.
No,
You look at a championship window, I still think the Bucks have got 3 years.
Yeah.
With those two guys, because I think Dame can, with a healthy Giannis, still stick around, and that shot's not going anywhere. But Giannis got to stay healthy, and he hasn't been healthy the last 2 years. Really hasn't been healthy in the playoffs since they won a championship. So I get it, but I'm biased. Because I think Giannis is, when he's on, might be the best player in the world. And I know that's crazy because Jokic is in the league.
Nope. See, I respect it, but yeah, no, he's not better than, again, Justin, how many games has Jokic missed for injury? Yep.
I understand.
Yep. Best availability is ability, or best ability is availability, my friend.
Do we have time for this Pat Bev nonsense? All right, so Pat Bev last night acted like a complete clown. That is not surprising. Again, same thing with Kawhi Leonard, right? At this point, it's not Pat Bev's fault. It's everybody else's fault. Everybody else's fault that thinks he's going to change, that thinks he's going to be different, and he threw a basketball at a fan, hit I would assume a teenage girl is what it looked like, then threw a basketball again into the stands. He's going to get suspended, cost him an awful lot of money. Then after the game, acted like a clown with an ESPN producer who's just trying to get sound. This is the exchange in the Milwaukee Bucks locker room postgame.
Here. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before I finish.
Yeah.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not.
So you can't interview me then. No
Okay,
disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe
Get the microphone in my face. ESPN microphone.
Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Pat Bev's a clown. Pat Bev is a clown.
No disrespect, though,
He's
Justin.
acted like a clown. Clowns are going to do what clowns do. They're going to juggle, and they're going to scare young children. That's what clowns do. I'm on the fence on this take because I don't know what I would do. But at some point, when you see just a female, not even a reporter, but a female producer standing there being treated that terribly, I don't know, it's not really maybe appropriate to say, but as a man, don't you could be like, hey, probably not the right place, and I've been in a locker room, and you might get fired. But I don't know. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, what's going on with all these other reporters?
Well,
like he's just sitting there acting like like a bully, even though
A little bit of a sexist comment, to be honest. I mean, it's one of those things where, I'm sorry.
like, would he do that if a dude was standing there?
I
Probably, but
yeah.
I don't know.
But either way, like, to me, it's just like, dude, you lost. It's part of the MO, right?
I know.
This
comes with the paycheck.
Yes, 100%. So,
Drives me
clown,
nuts.
like Justin said.
But again, like I said with Kawhi Leonard, but in a very different thing, are we expecting Pat Bev to behave unlike a clown? No. He's been a clown his entire career. His entire career, he's been a clown.
There's no way Dame can like having him as his teammate.
There's no possible way. All right, we have got hour number 2. That's coming up next on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, it's 7 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs saw a pair of teams advance into the second round. The Indiana Pacers took down the Milwaukee Bucks 4-2. Game 6, Pacers get the win and advance. Also, Game 6 in Philadelphia saw the New York Knicks eliminate the 76ers 118-115. Josh Hart hits the go-ahead 3 to seal it for New York. So Indiana and New York facing each other in the next round. Boston, who has already advanced, will face the winner of Cavs Magic Game 6 in Orlando tonight. Also, Dallas and the LA Clippers, another Game 6 coming up tonight. Travis Demers, the voice of your Portland Trailblazers, is going to be joining us in hour number 3. But hour 2 of Rip City Mornings on a Friday, it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Friday morning. The sun is shining. I don't know how long it's going to shine for, but you know what? We'll take it when we get it. As I mentioned in the update, Travis Demers is going to join us, see how his offseason is going so far. We've got a make or miss. We've got a Hot Take Friday coming up as well. I'm not done talking about Pat Beverly. I had some thoughts, more thoughts of the clown show, and ultimately what could transpire. See, there's a myth in sports. There's a myth in sports that punishments are doled out equally. Life is not fair, as my mom loved to tell me. That's not fair. Life's not fair. And you learn very, very fast that if you are talented, if you can provide something, you can get away with more stuff. It's not fair. It's life. There was an anecdote from the Dallas Cowboys years and years and years ago. Brenden, Jimmy Johnson takes over for the Dallas Cowboys, and Jimmy Johnson came from the University of Miami, and he took over for the Dallas Cowboys. And like everybody said, I'm going to change the culture. I'm going to change the culture around here. And so apparently there was a mid-roster special teams backup linebacker who had fallen asleep in a team meeting. Jimmy Johnson cut him. Jimmy Johnson cut him that day. He walked in and said, "You fell asleep in a team meeting? That is unacceptable. You are cut. Best of luck." And somebody in the media came to Jimmy Johnson and said, "Jimmy, what would you have done if Troy Aikman fell asleep in a team meeting? Would you cut him?" He said, "I would walk right up to Troy Aikman. I would tap him on the shoulder, and I said, 'Troy, it's time to wake up.' Because Troy Aikman's quarterback. He can win you a Super Bowl. This guy, who is a special teamer, he is replaceable." Why do I tell that story? Why do I bring that up? Pat Bev's going to get a big punishment. Patrick Beverly last night, if you haven't seen the clip, it's all over the internet. But if you haven't seen the clip, he threw a basketball at a fan twice, apparently hitting a young girl, and then again hitting an Indiana fan who was sitting 2 rows behind the bench. Then an exchange. Let's play the exchange. So then after the game, he had this exchange with, and it's kind of tough to maybe see it because obviously we are an audio medium and this is a video clip, but an ESPN producer, not even a reporter, a producer who's just there to get sound because obviously once you throw a basketball in the crowd twice, we need to hear what you have to say.
I've seen this on Twitter since, Justin. Very, very well-known producer in the circles.
Very popular, yeah.
Very well-known.
So she was standing next to Patrick Beverly, not even asking questions, just holding a microphone.
I've done that how many times, Justin?
I've done it so many.
You and I have.
I've done it. You've done it way more than I have. I hate it. It makes me feel like, hold your phone.
You did your scrums. I wouldn't say more. I mean, you did your scrums when you were back in the day at Oregon.
Not as many, though, as you would think. I tried to avoid the scrums as much as possible. Also, I was pre-iPhone.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I was pre-iPhone, so you had to do the whole thing. not even a camera. We had to go with a microphone
Yeah.
and a recorder, and it was the worst. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I hear
it never sounded good. It was. So, anyways, this is a scrum, and this is what Pat Beverly had to say to this producer at ESPN.
Here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before I finish.
Yeah.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not
So
subscribe.
you can't interview me then. No
Okay, well,
disrespect.
Jamal is here. so-
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Laughs it off.
Again, there were a couple times
Maybe kinda
within a
funny.
bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe.
Pushes the microphone away.
Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So clearly, clown show. As I mentioned last segment, clowns are going to do what clowns do. And Pat Bev has been a clown for a good chunk of his career, if not his entire career. Of course, Blazer fans will always remember him acting like a clown in the bubble. I think Blazer fans will remember he's maybe the only player that Damian Lillard said he would. I don't think I can say it word for word, but he said he was going to beat him up in a different. Much different language, much different tone. Pat Bev is the same guy that
I think the word whoop was in there, too.
Yeah, there was a whoop in there. Pat
Yeah,
Bev
they're
is also
teammates, so go figure.
Pat Bev is also the same guy that when Chris Paul and him got into it, and then they were losing to the Phoenix Suns, decided to walk over, shove him in the back, get himself ejected because he knew that the series was over and he wasn't going to get another chance to fight. He's a clown. He's acted like a clown always. And this is what clowns do. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because there's a reason why I told you that Dallas Cowboys story. I think Patrick Beverly is going to get a pretty hefty fine and a pretty hefty suspension. Now, you might be thinking, well, Justin, how much of a suspension could it be? John Morant, who flashed a gun on Instagram Live not once but twice, got 25 games. But I would come back to you and say, yeah, but here's the deal. John Morant's a superstar. John Morant's an all-star. John Morant, before the injury, had the ability to make the NBA money because he draws eyeballs. He draws interest. See, he's a commodity. You're an asset. Focused on the first part of that term, but you're an asset. Or no, not an asset. You're a liability. John Morant's an asset. You're a liability. Charles Barkley famously tried to spit on a guy in a game in Philadelphia and missed the guy, hit a young girl, spit on her. Took a ton of criticism, got fined, got suspended. And then Charles Barkley came out last night and criticized Patrick Beverly. You might go, well, that's a bit hypocritical. Here's the difference. Charles Barkley is one of the greatest power forwards of all time. He's an asset to the league. You're a liability. When you are a liability and you put yourself into a spot to have an example made of you, guess what? Example might be made of you. It's a harsh truth, not just in sports, just in life. If you're not an asset, if you don't bring an awful lot, and hate to break it to Patrick Beverly, he's 35, never made an all-star team. He is in more trouble. The only thing that average Joe fan knows about Pat Beverly is that he's always in trouble. Dennis Rodman got in trouble a lot. Guess what? Greatest rebounder of all time. He draws eyeballs. People wanted to watch it. He was not a liability. He's an asset. I think
Also dated Madonna.
Dated Madonna.
Like, just saying, that was probably pretty big for him.
At the time.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about, like, the fame of certain people. Like, boy, the fame of Madonna at one point.
Yeah.
Wasn't always good fame.
Kids these days don't know.
Wasn't always 100% positive fame, but right up there.
She had a big peak, man.
She had a run. Boy, did she have a run. She had a run both on the charts and with NBA players.
This is true.
But you see what I'm saying? I don't know if it's going to, like, let's put some conspiracy theory hats on here real quick. Brenden, does Pat Bev get blackballed? Does he get blackballed? Draymond Green punched out his teammate, but Draymond Green would ultimately be a cog in the wheel that would win an NBA championship that year because the Warriors know that Draymond Green comes with baggage, but the juice is worth the squeeze. Yeah, he might throw a punch at a teammate. Yeah, he might get kicked out of a game or two. But you know what else? He is an important piece of 4 championships. Would have been 5 if he didn't kick LeBron in the junk. But if you're the Golden State Warriors and you look at Draymond Green, you go, guess what? He's an asset. Net positive, so we put up with it. Pat Beverly's a liability. He's a good enough basketball player to make roster after roster after roster. But you know what? He's not good enough to stay on a roster. There's a reason why the Clippers let you go. There's a reason why the Timberwolves let you go. There's a reason why the Lakers let you go. There's a reason. Did the Jazz for a while? Or am I mixing him up? Anyways.
He's been pretty much everywhere.
The Sixers let you go.
Not the Jazz. No, he went Rockets, Clippers, Timberwolves, Lakers, Bulls, 76ers, Bucks. So that's like good.
The Sixers let you go. The Bucks are going to let you go. You're 35, going to be 36. You'll be 36 by next basketball. Is Pat Bev done? Is he done? If you're a team, you want to bring on a 36-year-old troublemaker who has never made an all-star team?
I think Adam Silver, well, here's my...
And is also going to, like, again, I don't want to get too conspiracy theory, but
yeah,
he could be blackballed.
Yeah, I mean, here's my problem with it is, I think the way he treated the reporter is worse than throwing the basketball. And I think that, like, in today's world, especially when we're talking about women in sport coming so much higher up to the...
But he also hit a little girl.
This is true, too.
I would much rather be...
I think it's 2 levels...
Scalded than have a basketball thrown at my head.
Yeah, I just, like I said earlier, I
think both combined.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I would not be surprised if Adam Silver sat him down because you do not want NBA players speaking to reporters that way, specifically women reporters. It's unacceptable.
I think you're going to see a suspension. And then I think on top of a suspension, I think there's going to be a coordinated effort of, like...
Just nobody signs them kind of a thing.
Why would you? Like, what? Why would you?
Could LeBron want him back? Like, that's the thing is, like, Pat Bev could still be like an annoying irritant on a championship team. That's why he was in Milwaukee.
But he didn't get the job done in Milwaukee.
No.
He didn't get the job done in Minnesota. He didn't get the job done with the Clippers. Like, and he's getting older and older and older every single year.
He won the play-in and threw his jersey.
It's true. Can never take away that play-in moment. All right.
That way he cried. Tears.
Tears. Purple rain in Minnesota. All right. We have got Make or Miss. That's next on 620 Rip City Radio. Is this a top 5 sing-along song? Party in the USA?
I'm biased.
It's probably because it goes by age. You're right in the sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm biased because this is the fourth quarter sing-along at Reser Stadium and has been for about 8 years
Okay,
now.
so the fact that it's even there.
Yeah, about 8 years now we've been going with Miley in the fourth quarter. Took over AC/DC TNT about 8 years ago, which at the time I was like, now they kind of have them both, like TNT's end of the third quarter, fourth quarter is like sing-along.
Can I tell you something I was always jealous of? It's tough because, when you grow up on one side of the Civil War rivalry, you can't even admit that anything that the other team does. I'm sure there's probably a lot of Beaver fans who are like, man, that shout is pretty cool. I don't like it, but it is pretty cool.
You're saying
in the 2000 season, there were two things going on in the world. Obviously, Oregon State was at unreal levels of success that program had ever seen. And Will Smith was on a bit of a heater. And they used to play the Men in Black.
Yep.
I think when the defense would go on the field, and they would, or I think maybe it was a punt return, or I don't know if it was specific, but they used to play Here Come the Men in Black. That was so cool. Like, if you're good, your unis are all black, and it's like, and in that time, like, I'm sure the song is maybe a little bit dated now, but like, here comes the Men in Black, and everybody got, like, I hated it because, again, it was rivalry, and I was much younger then, and I had a lot of venom. I had a lot of something in vinegar, as probably your grandpa would say.
Shout out.
But deep down in the back of my mind, I was like, God, that is cool. Man, that is so cool.
Shout out the Beavers who still have that rolling on YouTube, so it'll live on forever. But yeah.
They used to play it, and TJ Hushmanzada would be back, like, full-on dancing before returning a punt.
It's still catchy. It's still pretty catchy.
It is. It's good.
mean,
I was so jealous.
But you're right. It's that point, Justin. Like, that was probably the peak of Will. Fresh off Hitch, fresh off I Am Legend. Well, maybe not quite to I Am Legend.
No, I don't think he was on I Am Legend. He was, so I believe.
Hitch, he definitely done Hitch.
Independence Day was 96, and I want to say Men in Black was 97. Then Wild Wild West came out there. That was a bit of a flop, but it was still, he was still like an absolute A-lister. And when Men in Black came out, and then he had the song and the movie, like, and Fresh Prince was still a thing, I think. I think Fresh Prince was maybe still on the air, or maybe it just ended.
Ooh, iRobot was around. I did like that movie a lot. Bad Boys, yeah.
When did Bad Boys come out?
First one 95, second one 03.
Okay, so think about this run. Will Smith.
Bad Boys.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is on the TV. Biggest show, if not the biggest show, one of the biggest shows on TV at the time. Then he does Bad Boys. Then he does Independence Day. Then he does Men in Black. Then did Wild Wild West.
Do you see Enemy of the State?
Enemy of the State's really good.
That's in there too.
Enemy of the State was really good.
There you go.
Not as didn't hold the test of time like, say, Men in Black or Independence Day did, but
I never saw
or
Ali
Bad Boys
either. Was that good? Is that decent?
Ollie is tough.
Okay.
And here's why Ollie is tough. Just like I think Ben Affleck and Matt Damon did a good job when they made Air. They didn't have anybody play Michael Jordan because you just can't.
Yeah.
Nobody can get it right. And Will Smith, I think, did a good job. Now, this was, again, when we liked Will Smith.
Where are we on him right now?
I still am
Has he
out.
been in timeout enough?
I'm still out.
Yeah, I'm like, it makes you, like, yeah, like, because, like, you saying all this stuff and all the Men in Black, I'm like, man, there was a time I really did like him.
I know.
Like, you want to get a movie, Justin, that's made me cry as a grown adult is literally Pursuit of Happiness.
I could never make it to the end of that movie. It was just too depressing. Too depressing. I could never make it. When they had to catch the bus and they dropped the toy.
Oh, it's so sad.
I turn it off. I can't. I'm not gonna finish this.
Wait, so you never finished it?
Never finished it.
Yeah, it's
Don't know how
it's
it
a
ends.
heartthrob, man. It's a heartthrob.
I can't get past that bus scene. And also all the other bads is like, here's an hour and a half of terrible things happening to this dude. I'm like, why am I watching this? All right.
He makes it back at the end, though.
I would hope so.
It
That
all
being
works
said,
out, Justin.
all that being said, party in the USA. I mean, because I was Don't Stop Believin', Sweet Caroline. Mr. Brightside is on a heater now in terms of sing-along songs.
The Killers has had a late resurgence.
Yeah.
Like
people just realize, like, that song's 14 years old. Like, and then the kids are just like, hey, this song's pretty. It's like, yeah, it was awesome in like
2003 when it came out, which is crazy.
Is that song 20 years old? Is Mr. Brightside 20 years old?
I think it was 2003. It might be.
I think it might be either way. 05.
Let's see. You might be.
I think
right.
it might be 05. Maybe split the middle. Put it in 04.
I think you're right. 04.
04.
Okay.
Boom.
So there you go. 20 years old this year. Go fig.
And it's just like,
Still
hey,
very
we sing along to
Still
Mr.
very
Brightside.
good. Still very good.
All right. Let's get to make or miss. Here we go.
All right, firing up make or miss here on a Friday. Justin, once a troublemaker, always a troublemaker. Pat Bev?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, tiger doesn't change its stripes. Leopard doesn't change its spots. And clowns are going to clown.
So this actually goes back to his college days, Justin. And
He's in Arkansas, right?
Yeah, this
He's
is
an Arkansas Razorback.
This is. I'll preface this by saying this is unfair, but we're kind of piling on Pat Bev, so why not?
It's not unfair. It's like you did this to yourself, right? If you don't want people to continue to bring up old stuff, then don't act like you did before.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Justin, he would have been a draft pick, but as it turned out, he cheated on a test in college.
Yes.
And then basically was like, I'm not going to even do the suspension. I'm going to go play in Europe.
Yes.
And was like the whole, hey, look what I can do kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Blazer fans remember him, and it's crazy for how long he's been in the league. Pat Bev was the irritant on the Houston Rockets team that Dame hit the game winner.
Yes.
In 14. Like, it was James
with
Harden.
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, it was James Harden on that team, but that was the whole narrative was if Damian Lillard can win this series, he can win against one of the just most annoying on-ball defenders in the NBA.
Yes.
And like 10 years later, still exists. So I don't like him. I don't like his game. But I also have to give credit, Justin, because a dude that was a second-round pick who spent a year playing basketball in Ukraine, a year in Greece, and 2 years in Russia where you can't play basketball as an American anymore. I give him credit for sticking it out this long, and it's like he created this character like Dylan Brooks probably, and I
don't even know if it's a character. I think that's just kind of maybe who he is.
So you don't think Dylan Brooks is who he is all the time, kind of a thing?
I don't. I was there in Eugene, and like he was, he did the flopping and all that stuff, and he was an irritant, but he wasn't doing like this pro wrestling stuff that he's doing now. But here's the thing with Patrick Beverley, though. Brenden, it's one thing to do this when you're in your 20s, right? It's one thing when you're 3-4 years into the league. And, I go back to what I was saying last segment is how much of an asset are you and how much of a liability are you? And if you're John Morant, you're in your 20s and you do something very, very stupid twice, you're not going to get kicked out of the league and you're not going to get blackballed. But if you're 36 and you are not an all-star, you are nowhere close to an all-star, you are not a key cog in a championship operation. You have been essentially hippity-hopping all over the league. He might be done. He might be done. I don't know if this is the thing where it's a bridge too far. Is this the straw that breaks the camel's back? But I'm sure there's a lot of teams going like, yeah, I would have dealt with Pat Bev 4 years ago. I'm not going to deal with him at 36. I'm going to deal with a 30. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like, Brenden, I made no secret that I may have partied too much when I was in college. I made no secret about that. Could have made better decisions, maybe partied a little bit too much. But at some point, right, you realize I can't go out and act crazy in my 30s, certainly not into your 40s, the way you did into your 20s, because it's just silly. We all know that guy who keeps trying to relive his 20s, and it's like, you can be an irritant and you can do immature stuff with reporters and you can get into interactions with fans. And by the way, one last thing on this. I'm so sick of these sensitive Sally NBA players because last night, before he put out his statement, he put on Twitter about the exchange between the fans. He said, not fair at all. Exchange between a fan and our ball club all night. We warned and asked for help all night. Not fair. Oh, a family of 4 is getting a little too mouthy for you, Pat Bev. You can't just tune it out. What a sensitive snowflake. I just get so sick and tired of this. Like, we asked for help. It's like, what? Because a fan of a team that's in the playoffs is getting a little intense 2 rows behind you? Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, to me, it's just,
think about all the stuff that NFL players have to deal with, right? Think about all the stuff that NFL players have to deal with. And it's like, oh, you're just getting a little.
Oh, and that's what I asked
These guys
you.
are so soft.
Like, Justin, we've seen the last couple of years, like, where Bobby Wagner was sued for, pushing down the fan. Like, does this woman have a case to sue Patrick Beverley?
I don't know, but I have a hunch that there will be money exchanged.
Very much like, remember
I have
we
a hunch
saw.
there's going to be money exchanged and it's going to be taken care of behind closed doors, but.
Do you remember when Nurk smacked the phone out of the kid in Indiana? So Justin earlier in the show said, oh, it'll be everywhere. And I specifically said, I think there's a little bit more to it in Indiana. And I see this moment. Like, Indiana, I think, has some of the more tough fans in the NBA, Justin. Like, I'm not saying, like, top 5, but, like, upper echelon. Like, everything we've seen from The Last Dance, that was a...
I'd be curious to sit on an NBA bench in the playoffs in all the markets. Maybe not, but I bet you they're brutal in New York.
No one's mean to you in Canada, so Toronto's probably...
Toronto, they're probably incredibly polite.
Yeah, probably. Good day, good day.
The Lakers,
Canada.
like, those seats are way too expensive. So the people that are on the Lakers, like, they're not, like...
You're probably rubbing elbows
Clippers
with Jack Nicholson, too.
Probably the same thing with the Clippers. But, like, yeah. You get to Milwaukee, you get to Indiana, you get to Philadelphia, you get to, some Rust Belt cities. You're gonna find some people that are gonna try to get under your skin.
Well, and I think
but you know what I mean? Like, don't be so sensitive.
And I would even throw Utah in there too. And again, this is all because like nobody else has made an awesome documentary like The Last Dance that shows, hey, Utah was so crazy obsessed, they may or may not have, in a roundabout way, poisoned Michael Jordan pizza. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that whole thing where like Michael Jordan's like, oh yeah, I told my wife and my kids like they weren't gonna come to Utah for like game 6. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of interesting to me.
But
like,
you're fired
maybe
up.
Maybe it's changed
It's
in
the
30
playoffs.
years.
Like, I would be willing to bet.
You think fans have mellowed out in 30 years?
No, I don't think they have.
Okay.
I think we're all a little bit fired up. The algorithms don't help things. But we've all been there as fans where like, I can guarantee you there's probably some stuff I've said at Autzen Stadium that I would never say in a normal, but it's just like you're at the game. You're a fan. You're a fanatic. That's what you do. And guess what? As an NBA player, you get paid tens of millions of dollars to put up with it. So sensitive. Well, they were interacting all night. So you throw a basketball at them? And you hit a girl?
Yeah,
What a snowflake. Seriously. Toughen up. Because I'll tell you what, you talk about The Last Dance, right? You know what I saw Michael Jordan doing? Staring straight ahead. Winning championships. And I see you throwing basketballs into the crowd. All right.
It's true.
What else we got?
Let's move on to this one. With how much NBA players make, firing a coach is relatively cheap.
Did anybody get fired today? Do we know?
We're still waiting on Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel and Darvin Ham still?
Darvin Ham.
The two guys that lost last night, they're fine because obviously Doc Rivers isn't going anywhere.
Right.
And they just hired Nick Nurse in Philadelphia.
The only way that would happen is if Embiid came out and said, I'm not playing for him. Like if he did, that would do it. Because Justin and I learned
that's true.
Giannis and Budenholzer last year. So
and Giannis and Adrian Griffin, I think, probably a little bit of that as well. You don't think Giannis signed off on that?
Yeah, he did. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't think anybody else would get fired.
I mean, it is the affordable way
To appease people?
To appease the fan base of like, we're trying something here, but it's not going to kill our cap. And, yeah, we're going to have to write a check, but this organization is worth $4 billion, so we're making money hand over fist. So I could see where if you are like Matt Ishbia, like we talked about earlier, it's like, we're kind of in cap hell right now. We can't really make any of the changes. That's why I'm going to sit here and defend this roster and defend this roster and defend this roster until maybe I fire the coach. Are you laughing about what's on ESPN right now?
I am. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hijack, but we're it kind of fits. We can kind of go ahead and fold.
We saw this coming. Okay, so I don't want to leave people in suspense.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here doing the show, and on ESPN, which is on in the studio, Stephen A. Smith says, the Bucks should trade Damian Lillard
after 1 year.
After 1 year, when Giannis got injured in the playoffs,
You gave up Drew Holiday, but give him up after 1 year, sure.
and he's owed $260 million.
Yeah, I'm not going to say nobody wants that contract, but it's harder.
Somebody would.
It's harder to move.
Somebody would want it.
Yeah, it's harder.
Is this Stephen A. just trying to get Dame to New York?
Why would you if you have Brunson?
Because it's he maybe sees that they're not going to beat Boston, and I don't know. But this is the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, make or miss, Stephen A's a clown in this particular
But it's
instance.
like, they should trade Dame. It's like, Giannis got hurt. They also fired their coach halfway through the season. It's a new roster. It's going to take time to get, cohesion, continuity. That's the word I was thinking of. Like, it's going to take time.
I mean, here's the
now,
thing.
if they get bounced in the first round next year, well, then, yeah, you got some decisions to make.
And they've got some runway, Justin. They got
hurt.
They've got Giannis, Dame, Middleton, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, which is pretty much their entire rotation, back and under contract next year, and then the year after that. So they've got about a 2-year window.
Yeah,
of
if
everybody.
the Milwaukee Bucks are healthy, relatively healthy, with those guys that you talked about.
But is that better than Boston? I don't know.
It's competitive. It's competitive with Boston. You can beat everybody else in the East, and it's competitive with Boston because you still got Giannis, right? Who's going to defend Giannis healthy next year? Boy, we're getting really far ahead of ourselves. But it's just the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things I've seen. They should trade. Why? For what?
It's kind of interesting.
For what reason?
Like the same thing that should scare the rest of the NBA, Justin. So everything I just said about Milwaukee's true. It's true for the Celtics, too. After they re-signed Drew Holiday, they have
so much money out with those two guys.
They have one free agent this year who's a backup center. Otherwise, pretty much everybody's locked in for about 3-4 years. So Brad Stevens done some good work there.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
That's maybe why he won Executive of the Year.
But, if you're the Bucks, there's no move you can make that is going to make you better than you are right now when healthy. I'm not saying you can win a championship, but you're never going to get better than you are right now, other than maybe a year ago when you had Drew Holiday.
And Budenholzer.
And maybe you should have just realized that Giannis got hurt, and maybe you should just push through a little bit. I don't know. But, yeah. Dame and Giannis are going to be back next year. They're going to be a threat next year. They're going to spend the whole summer playing basketball together. Is Giannis – neither one of them is playing in the Olympics, right?
Giannis has not committed to Greece yet.
Okay. So I would imagine
Dame is out.
I would imagine with the injuries, they're just going to – they're going to be playing basketball all summer. Doc Rivers going to figure it out. They're going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be championship good, but they're going to be good next year. All right. We got a Hot Take Friday coming up next. We are going to wrap up hour number 2. Before we do that, I have to once again tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovation experts. I, of course, am telling you about DeBella for the past few months. If you have been thinking about updating your home, maybe you've been listening to me talk about DeBella each and every day on this show, going like, man, what is he talking about? May is the perfect season to make it happen. My friends at DeBella do phenomenal work. You might have seen their work in Better Homes and Garden, HGTV. They've got over 15,000 5-star reviews on Google. That number keeps going up and up and up every single day, plus award-winning customer service with accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor. As you plan your summertime spending, we all want to try to save some money. Do you know you could potentially pay for a new roof with savings to your energy bill and federal and state incentives? Just go with solar. DeBella's got all the details about updating your roof with solar shingles. Estimates are free, scheduled on a time that is convenient for you. So now is the time to update your roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovations, all with DeBella. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. As we talk about on this program often, we do not shy away from hot takes. No. A lot of people feel like, hot take culture. It's what's wrong with sports media. I disagree. Say it is what made sports media. It's the reason why we are here today. Passionate, emotional responses to unimportant things, right? That is exactly how I throw out hot takes left and right. And we save some of our spiciest takes for the end of the week because there's no better way to get into the weekend than with a little Hot Take Friday. Here we go. I believe we talked about it earlier this week. Hot take, microwaves, while necessary, microwaves kind of overrated. Hear me out. When you see what air fryers can do in our world, microwaves need to step up their game. Yes, it is very easy to throw something that is microwavable, such as popcorn, such as leftovers. And for years and years and years, Brenden, the microwave saw no competition, right? Because who's going to fire up the oven? Who's gonna wait for that big old oven to preheat and then wait to when you just
Takes a while.
Pop it in the microwave? Who is going to wait for a cup of hot water to boil on a stove to throw it in a thing of ramen or a cup of noodles? Who's going to wait with? And for years, the microwave had no competition. Guess what? Not necessarily with everything, but the air fryer's coming. The air fryer's coming, and it's coming fast.
I have both in my house.
I do as well, and I think the air fryer has taken away some of the shine off of the old microwave.
Sorry, I meant to say I have an air fryer and a deep fryer in my house. But yes, the air fryer's coming.
Well, because an air fryer, hot take, air fryer's not a fryer. All right, it's a fast oven.
You're
is
right.
what it is.
You're 100% right.
It's not it's got a cute name and all, and
it does kind of give you that fried flavor a little bit, though. Like you put French fries in there.
Well, because the French fries you put in there have already been fried.
Yes,
right.
That's
they're
true. It's a good warm up.
They're pre-fried.
I put pizza in an air fryer. Way better than microwave pizza.
That's what I'm saying. I think baked potatoes. Baked potatoes you can put into an air fryer. Chicken nuggets.
I've done wings in an air fryer, like reheated wings.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying is, hey, hot take, microwave. Watch your back. Watch your back. Maybe get a new feature here and there. Oh, Justin, it's got new features. No, it's not. They just put new buttons on there. And the buttons, all they do is they just go to a pre-timed thing, and the buttons don't work. Because the bag of popcorn that you put in the microwave specifically says don't hit the popcorn button. How big of a fight was that, do you think? Do you think like the big microwave brands got into like a beef with like Orville Redenbacher and Jiffy Pop to where it was like, hey, we got you a button, and they said, yeah, don't touch that button.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Don't hit the popcorn button.
It's interesting.
With the air fryer now being a thing, microwave better watch its back. That's all I'm saying. Also, dishwasher looking in your direction. You need to up your game a little bit as well. But I don't have time to dive into my dishwasher beefs. What do you got?
Yeah, my hot take is very random today, but it is.
But I would like to think so. We just had a microwave versus air fryer talk.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're gonna be surprised at this. Hot take: the DEQ is stupid, and its point is stupid.
Oh boy!
So I had to go to the DEQ, like most people here in the Portland Metro. But here's the thing, Justin. I think it's really silly.
What year was your car made?
2016.
Okay.
I think it's really silly that only the Portland Metro and the Medford Ashland area have to do this, and you can literally. So like I living in Sherwood have to go to DEQ. If I were to go and drive to Newburgh, you don't have
DEQ.
No DEQ. And I'm all for things like happy emissions and keeping the planet safe and everything.
All for it.
But it seems really silly that we're like, okay, if you live in this area, you have to pay more money to make sure. But yet, if you live in like Bend, no biggie, no worry. And it's very state to state. I only know because I had to go pay this expensive fee in the last week. And I was feeling pretty fired up at it, Justin.
Well, here's the other thing. I'm far from a gearhead, okay? I could maybe change the oil in my car. I don't, but I'm not a gearhead. Basically, every car built after, 2010 is, emission-free.
Thank you.
They've never rolled out a car off the assembly line since 2010 that's ever going to fail a DEQ test.
I agree, yeah.
So, okay, I get it. Maybe if you have, and I love old trucks. I do. I love old trucks. If you ever see me driving an old truck, you know that, Justin's doing good, because some people might want a Lamborghini, some people want a Mercedes-Benz. I want an old truck. That's what I want. But I'm sure those old trucks probably are not the cleanest. They probably have carburetors, right? Because new cars don't have carburetors, right? They're emission-free. Not emission-free.
I don't know the exactness of it, but yeah, they don't have catalytic converters either.
Yeah.
It's just different.
And they don't have carburetors because, we've made some advancements. But
my issue
we all know why. It's another way for them to get some cash out of you.
Yeah, I guess.
It's cash grab.
Yeah, I guess my issue, it's like The Office, cash basket. My issue with this, Justin, is if you live in Multnomah County, you live in Washington County, you live in Clackamas County, you live in, I think that's it. And then you go to, you got to help me, I don't know any of the counties around Medford and Ashland.
Well, okay, you got Jackson County is where Medford is. You've got Josephine County. Okay. That's where Grants Pass is. Klamath County is right there. Of course, you get a little bit higher than Josephine County. Then you get to Douglas County. And,
yeah, Oregon has 30.
That's where the salt of the earth people are in this world, especially in this state, Brenden. They are from the great county that is Douglas County.
Yeah, and I think that, so when I look at
you got Coos County and Curry County towards the coast.
Knowing that there are 36 counties in Oregon and about 6 of them require DEQ, I think is pretty silly.
It probably would be very bad radio. I think I could name 20 counties. It would be very bad radio, though. But off the top of my head, I think I can name 20 counties.
Just go in the next minute and 15 seconds.
Douglas, Jackson, Josephine, Coos, Curry, Klamath, Tillamook, Deschutes, Multnomah, Clackamas, Washington. Oh, boy. That's 11? 36? Umatilla County?
That's up there.
I'm running out.
Malheur, Lynn.
Benton County?
Yeah.
Benton County?
Yeah.
Lynn County?
Harney, Grant,
Polk?
Gillum.
Polk?
Yep, absolutely. Crook.
Grant County?
Yeah.
Union County?
Nice.
I think I've got pretty close.
Wallawa. Wasco.
Wasco. That's where the Dallas is.
Washington County.
I named Washington, so I got that one.
Wheeler.
All right, I got.
You got half, more than half.
Yamhill and Carlton.
Yeah, more than half, baby.
All right, coming up next, hour number 3, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs saw a pair of teams advance into the second round. The Pacers take down the Bucks 120-98. They take the series 4-2, and the New York Knicks take down the 76ers 118-115. Josh Hart hits the go-ahead three to seal it for New York. Pacers and the Knicks now face each other in the second round. The Boston Celtics will get the winner of Cavs Magic. They have Game 6 in Orlando tonight. Also, a Game 6 in Dallas with the Mavericks up 3-2 on the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard ruled out for Game 6. Ruled in for hour number 3. Your voice of the Portland Trailblazers, Travis Demers, in front of the program in 20 minutes. RCM mailbag. Some interesting college football news. And would you rather with the Portland Trailblazers and some other teams in the NBA. Hour 3 of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. You know, coming up this fall, Brenden, this fall, if we are blessed to continue to do this show, and I am thankful each and every day I get to do this show, but coming up this fall, shall make 20 years of me being on the radio. It's crazy to think about that I've been doing it this long, but 20 years of me being on the radio coming up this fall. And something that will never cease to amaze me. Doing dumb stuff like seeing how many counties in the state of Oregon I can name unprompted in a minute will get a reaction. Whereas the most researched, planned out, thrown together topics, people are like, meh. I got 3 text messages during the break of people going, how could you miss Lane County?
I was wondering the same thing as someone who lived there
I
for
was a
12
resident
years.
for 12 years.
That's interesting.
And by the way, I guarantee you, while some people might be like, boy, that was a weird turn of a segment, I guarantee you during the break, somebody in their car was going like, how many could I name? So
It's harder than you think to get them all because Oregon has, 36. It's a lot.
There's a lot of sneaky ones out there too, but
And
it's
some that are very, very tiny.
it's just like we could do all these important.
What do you think is the smallest, if you had to guess?
I would say Union County. And are we talking population or real estate?
Population.
Union County.
Close. Wheeler County, actually.
Yeah, Wheeler.
1,400 people
All
make up the great county that is Wheeler.
right, we got to move on because we can't be doing naming the counties anymore. That was a fun little segment, but I just thought it was an interesting observation. It's always the reaction you get from doing silly stuff like that as opposed to, I don't know, interesting, researched, nuanced topics. College football news, according to Heather Dinich from ESPN. Multiple sources have told ESPN that former veteran coach Mike Riley, the Oregon State Beavers and Nebraska Cornhuskers, is expected to be named to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. He will replace Pat Chung. Now, Pat Chung, AD at Washington State, who is now the AD at Washington, right? And they in Washington just go like, that's cute and all. Cougs, we'll take your AD. Thank you very much.
They tried for Oregon State's too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Washington did?
Yeah, they tried for Scott Barnes at least once. So loyalty is something these days.
Which, never do I need an excuse to talk college football, but this is, it's timely, it's topical, so we're going to talk some college football. So now, Brenden, that next year we're going to be going into a 12-team playoff next year. And there's going to be certain automatic berths, I believe, right? I think the Power Four will get their automatic champions in, and then you will also have the automatic berth of the rest of the group of 5, the highest ranked group of 5, or whatever they are they still the group of 6 or whatever? Whatever they are, if you are not in the ACC, the SEC, Big 10, or Big 12, the highest ranked team out of them will make it. And so there you go. You get 5 automatic berths. And then after that, you have 7, I can do that math, 7 at-large berths. Do you think it is going to be easier or harder for the college playoff committee moving to 7 at-large berths? I think it's going to get so much harder.
Yeah, I think it'll be harder too.
I don't want to say it's always easy. Usually, number one team in America, pretty easy to figure out. Do you know what I mean? Usually, number 2 team in America, pretty easy to figure out. We've seen times where 3, 4, 5, 6 all kind of get mishmashed together. So let's just look at last year. Let's look at last year and let's try to put together, let's be the Rip City Mornings playoff committee. This is week 15, so this is after the regular season. And let's look at the AP. So Michigan, Washington, Texas, Florida State. The math isn't going to add up because the Pac-12 existed last year and the Pac-12 will not exist next year. But Michigan, Washington, Texas, Florida State, and Alabama. Right? Those are your 5 plus Liberty. Liberty would receive an automatic qualifier in this new system. So those are your teams that are in. If you go back to last year, when you get down around, I would say, pretty good case that Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon should have all been in. Right? So there's 8. So now you got 4 spots for last year. Missouri was 10-2. Penn State was 10-2. Ole Miss was 10-2. Oklahoma was 10-2. LSU was 9-3 with the Heisman Trophy winner. Arizona was 9-3. Notre Dame was 9-3. Louisville was 10-3. This is going to get real hard. And here's the other thing that I'm really curious to. Not saying, again, it was easy because Florida State got left out. Don't believe they should have. But they did. For years and years and years, Brenden, it was always, hey, undefeated is king. Right? Undefeated is king. Strength is king. You're a Power 5 team and you were undefeated, except for this last year with Florida State. But for years, that was the barometer. That was the measuring stick, was you had to be undefeated. If you lost, you had to lose early, which was the dumbest thing ever. We see in the NCAA basketball tournament, now obviously this is 64 teams versus 12. It's very, very different. But we see in the NCAA, like strength of schedule, net rating, they get much more advanced stats. I wonder how nerdy are they going to get to try to figure out, like, let's just say last year, for one spot, or for the last spot, Missouri, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, LSU. Throw them in there. Four 10-2 teams, one 9-3 team. That 9-3 team is from the SEC, who just happened to have a Heisman Trophy winner. I think it's going to get so much harder to be able to pick those final 2 teams. I think it's going to get really intense because if you pick the top 4, like the first 2 are kind of done for you, right? Michigan and Washington this year, it's pretty easy. Florida State should have been in, and the argument should have came down to Texas and Alabama, but there was no way they were going to have not have Nick Saban in the college football playoff. Texas beat Alabama. Vis-a-vis Florida State got absolutely jobbed. The more teams you add in, it's not going to be as cut and dry. Right now, it's pretty cut and dry, isn't it? Like, hey, that team, like, very rarely is there head-to-head. This year seemed to be cut and dry because Texas beat Alabama at Alabama. There was no way you were keeping Texas out.
Florida State was left out.
That's what I'm saying. It was ridiculous that they did because, well, that's the power of Alabama.
Are you surprised? Like, even still, like, I remember, like, why? I'm not surprised they were, if that makes sense.
No, neither am I. But if you look maybe in the next year, what's going to happen like with a 10-2 Penn State team? How much weight is the Big Ten going to carry? Or maybe it's a 10-2 Oregon team or a 10-2 USC team. I don't think it will be. We are really going to find out how much water that the Big Ten and the SEC carry. Because you know they're going to be out there. They're going to be lobbying. More, like, you can already hear, like, from sources with those two conferences looking ahead to what is going to be potentially a 16-team tournament, which is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. Nobody's going to say no to more money. You add 4 more teams. That's 4 more spots for millions and millions of dollars. That's 2 extra games on TV. Nobody's going to say no to the money until they overinflate this thing and it's a shell of what it once was. But me crying over the spilt milk isn't going to change anything. But you're already seeing, like, the Big Ten and the SEC kind of getting together going like, yeah, we're going to need most of those spots because we spend all this money trying to get the best teams. And ACC and Big 12, that's cute. You got some of the leftovers. But we're going to need, like, at least half, if not more than half, of the combined field of a 16-team tournament. All that being said, Mike Riley's going to be on the College Football Playoff Committee, and I don't envy anybody on that thing. Because usually, unlike this year with the whole Florida State mess, usually it's fairly cut and dry, and you have to make a decision about 1 or 2 teams. Now you're going to have to make a decision about 3 or 4 teams. Who's going to be the last team in? There's going to be a play where you have 1 spot for 4 teams with 2 or 3 losses. Is a 3-loss SEC team better than a 2-loss ACC team? Because for years, it was always, well, if you have 3 losses versus 2 losses, you're rated below. But the SEC is going to be like, yeah, but it means more. And they're going to be like, well, boy, I think it might mean more. Even though you play 8 conference games, you play a cupcake in the middle of November, and you still
It just means more, Justin.
And you still have Vanderbilt in your conference. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to a friend of the program. He is the voice of your Portland Trail Blazers. His name is Travis Demers, and he joins us next on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, very excited to welcome in our next guest. He's a friend of the program. He was actually a part of the program, believe it or not. More than just a friend of the program, he was a part of the program. He is the voice of your Portland Trail Blazers on the play-by-play radio call, who has just wrapped up year number 5 officially. Travis Demers back on the big show. Trav, how we doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing fantastic. It doesn't get better than that. You know what it's like when you do morning radio and you get into that third-hour guest on a Friday, right? It's just like, the euphoria in the studio is very, very high.
Yeah, it is. It's like you get that kind of delirium that the week is almost over and you've got somebody to actually have a conversation with, and it's just going to cruise on by. So I'm glad I can be part of it.
All right. Let's talk some big picture stuff because I know we've talked off the air and I've told you privately, and I'm going to tell you publicly because I've had a chance to listen to you your entire time, and it feels like each and every season, each and every game, you get more and more comfortable to where now it's like, boy, I tune in and it's like, man, Trav, he's got it dialed in, and I thought a great season calling the games on the radio. How's it feel? How's it feel now? Like year 5, sitting in the chair. Is it just like old hat now?
First of all, I appreciate you saying that. And it is kind of like old hat, but I still get, that butterflies right before the game when I hear Mark Mason do the introduction. Like, I'm excited. I got the energy. I'm ready to go. And this might sound strange, but I had a little bit of that imposter syndrome for a while. And this season was the first year that I didn't have that. Because, I started, like a lot of guys will have different paths, right? And I did play-by-play on the side, but it's something I always wanted to do. So to get that opportunity, you kind of look around and see the people around you, and you're like, am I supposed to be here? And eventually, it took a while, but now I feel like I belong. But I'm living my dream every night.
I mean, it's a fantastic story because I like you, I've been through this radio journey as well, and it got me thinking about this. Because I saw you throw out a tweet about the WNBA draft and the fact that you were able to call like high school games of Cameron Brink up here, who just went number 2 overall in the WNBA. And for those that don't know, like if you want to get into calling play-by-play, well, you find a game, you bring a microphone, and you just call them. And hopefully some people will then let you continue to do it more and more. Looking back, like what's the most where you go like, man, I can't believe I actually called that game? Not from a highest of high, but like boy, I can't believe I'm actually here calling this game.
Well, when back in 2014, I worked at another radio station in town. I'd been there for like a decade, and they let me go. And I was just trying to find some other stuff to do. Keep in mind at this point, I'm like 33, 34 years old, and I was doing some high school play-by-play for a station out in Hillsborough, KUIK, which no longer exists. And they had me do their secondary play-by-play game. And it was a streaming-only game. And I basically brought a laptop and connected to the station via Skype and connected my phone and played commercials off my phone. And there were a couple of like 1A basketball games that I did where there were literally like 3 total rows of stands. There was a game at Jefferson High School in Salem that I did, a football game. And the press box was, I don't want to discredit them or anything, but it's a smaller high school. They didn't even have like hash marks on the field. The numbers were not painted onto the grass field. So you're just kind of guessing. And the press box was like this, just kind of wooden room that wasn't even really a press box. And this was like, 8-9 years ago. So things have worked out all right since then.
One of my favorite stories to tell when I was in Eugene, and again, I have not done a ton of play-by-play. I've done a very minute amount of play-by-play. I'm just a big hot air spewing yapper on the morning show, but
and you're damn good at it.
I try my best, brick by brick, Trav. We're building this thing. But when I was in Eugene, and you know this if you've worked in smaller markets, even in bigger markets, you get a sponsor for something. you got to do it. It doesn't matter. And so there was the Buy Mart is a pretty big deal down in Eugene. And one of the higher ups at Buy Mart sponsored the Pee Wee football championships because his kid was playing at on a Pee Wee football team. Travis, I called 10 hours of Pee Wee football on a Saturday because it was sponsored. And the best part about it was I didn't do an awful lot of play-by-play. And as you probably know, calling, sometimes high school rosters are tough to come by. And there was a couple of games where I got a team photo is what I got in place of a roster. So if I could get 2 names, I was really, really pumped. So, yeah, it's and here we are, just talking to each other, coming from calling 10 hours of Pee Wee football.
That's incredible, man. I can't even imagine that.
Travis Demers is the voice of the Portland Trail Blazers. All right, Trav, I want to talk about kind of the last third of the season because I do think there was at some point a turning point where beyond the injuries, beyond the growing pains and everything else, Scoot kind of got some things figured out, which if we look back with realistic eyes, kind of knew that it was going to eventually take time. You as a guy that watched everybody play, but in particular watched Scoot play night in and night out, you got the kind of feeling that kind of that last third, that last 20, 25 games of the season, he really got some things figured out, and I think a nice bit of momentum heading into the offseason. You agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is going to be a really unfair comparison to Scoot, but it's on the top of my mind right now, so I'm going to go with it. So I'm coaching my oldest son's T-ball team, right? And I don't know if you've ever seen T-ball kids, play catch, but they're 5 feet away from each other, and they throw the ball, as hard as they possibly can, because they don't understand touch and feel, and it'll sail over their heads or it'll go all over the place. And again, I'm not this is unfair comparison to Scoot, but it's kind of what it was like early in the season. He would just take off and go without really any touch or feel around the basket. And then by the time he would get to the rim, he would realize that there wasn't any room there and either get his shot blocked or make a bad pass because he was making a last-second decision, throw the ball away, throw it out of bounds, throw it to a defender, things like that. It was happening often. And you look at that early in the season in October and even a little bit after he came back from his injury in December. And then at the end of the season, he was able to figure it out more. And he's still doing it. He's still 20 years old. He's still making those mistakes. But the hesitation dribble, backing up, not going straight to the rim, just making smarter decisions because he was understanding what he could and couldn't do on the floor. And as those things come, he's really good at getting to the rim. Sometimes he forces things and isn't able to finish, or he'll make some mistakes and turn the ball over. But, the foundation and the pieces of some special things are there.
Travis Demers, the voice of your Portland Trail Blazers, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. And I know it's been reported by others. And you're there, again, like I mentioned, day in and day out. And I know I can already hear some people listening that are going to roll their eyes. But I have said over and over that the NBA is a feelings-based league. Vibes do matter. There are some teams, Phoenix Suns, who may have a ton of talent, but just the vibes aren't there. Somebody isn't quite feeling it. We've seen player movement in this league where feelings, not financial, or anything else, is maybe the biggest reason why they have moved on. And so I do believe feelings, team chemistry, vibes, while old school guys may scoff at it, does matter in the NBA right now. And it felt like, while this team struggled on the court because they're incredibly young and decimated with injuries, it did feel like vibes still pretty good around this team. You were there every single day. How did you see that?
I completely agree with you on that. I mean, the whole vibes and feelings things, it matters. Just look at some of the player movement, just like you said, and a lot of it is feelings-based. And that's just, the league today. But, you look at the last few weeks of the season, right? And, yeah, there were some bad games in there. The loss to Miami in Miami was rough. It was painful. But when you have somebody like DeAndre Ayton who's out there with a bunch of young guys, and he could very easily say, man, I'm a max player. I don't need to be out there with these guys. other guys are hurt or quote hurt. I should be doing the same thing, but he wasn't doing that. And he was a leader and leading by example. And the players that were out there were playing hard. And the veterans that were on the bench, they were actually there and traveling with the team and on the bench and helping during timeouts. And the effort was there, and the fact that you had some of the players that were out there that you did, and it's, again, not to discredit anybody, but, Justin Minaya and Ashton Hagans, at this point, they're not viable rotation NBA players, but they can get out there in spurts. And instead they're playing, 25, 28 minutes, and, they're the experience and talent just isn't there, and they're staying in games. Yeah, they beat Charlotte, who's not very good, and they beat Washington, who's not very good, but they were hanging tight against Denver for a while and some other good teams, Oklahoma City. So, yeah, that doesn't happen without those good vibes and those good feelings.
The playoffs going on right now, and you're seeing some we talked about it earlier on the show when we had Devon Pouncey, and that there's kind of a changing of the guard going on in the NBA right now. LeBron is out, KD is out, Steph out, and you are seeing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson. You were seeing kind of Giannis, Dame, both out after last night. You are seeing kind of this changing of the guard in the NBA. Which I find fascinating, and I'm sure you've gotten a chance to call games with some of these guys, whether it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That was a rough game for the Blazers. That Oklahoma City game, that was a rough game. But also with Anthony Edwards, Jokic, and what are you seeing from some of these young guys that are seemingly very motivated, very hungry, and you're kind of seeing, especially in the West, with those top three teams in Denver, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota?
Yeah, it's interesting. To your first point, you think about all the stars that are not playing right now. LeBron, Anthony Davis. If the Clippers end up losing, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Dame, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Steph, Clay. All these guys are out, and we're not even fully into the second round yet. But the guys who are leading the way, obviously Jokic is a freak, and he's unbelievable at the things that he does. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if I was voting him for MVP and I don't have a vote, I would have put him second behind Jokic. He's just that good. And that Oklahoma City team, they're gonna have to figure out how to pay those guys. But it's kind of scary what they've done. And the biggest knock on Chet Holmgren was, well, he can't stay healthy. He was one of 6 or 7 guys who played in all 82 games this year. That sounds pretty healthy to me. And he was phenomenal. He had the best three-point shooting season by a rookie center in NBA history. That team is so good defensively. Anthony Edwards, I don't want to make any comparisons to Michael Jordan or anything like that, but he has that air about him, that confidence, that cockiness, but he's still going to get the job done, and he's fearless. So watching him play, he's so much fun to watch. And seeing this changing of the guard, we were wondering who was going to step up when the Warriors started to fade, or the Lakers faded out, and we're starting to see it. It just makes it very scary for everybody else in the West, because if you thought you were going to have a chance to be that team, well, now there's already somebody else there that you have to knock out.
Travis Demers, who is the voice of your Portland Trail Blazers, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Travis, let's get to some important stuff. On the road this year, traveling around, best meal you had on the road here in the 2023-2024 season? What's the best meal / restaurant you had maybe on the road?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of biased because I have this spot in Little Italy in New York City. It's like my favorite restaurant, and so I of course had to go there. So that's kind of that's. It's a place called De Janeiro. It's on Mulberry Street in Little Italy in New York. So that's always my go-to, right? So I always see that as my best meal. That's tough because I did a lot of DoorDash this year.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Because I didn't go out to a lot of restaurants this year. Our travel crew changed a little bit, and the vibe was a little bit different this year. And we're just trying to, feel some people out and stuff. But then everybody was super busy this year. So maybe it was just me. I don't know. But when I asked people to go out, hey, you want to get some dinner? No. So there's a lot of DoorDash this year. I forget the name of the place, but there's this pretty good Italian spot in Beverly Hills that I got that was pretty good.
So your place on Mulberry in Little Italy, Italian spot. What do you order different every time you go there? Do you have a go-to? Like, do you just stick to the chicken parm? What's your go-to?
Oh yeah, no, you're exactly right. I stick to the chicken parm.
Chicken parm is so good.
It's my favorite dish, man. And their chicken parm is so good. Maybe I'll get a caprese if they've got one, depending on the time of year. They also have this like portobello mushroom appetizer with like this like wine cheese sauce on top. It's really good. I've got my go-tos.
Is this like when you go to like Italian, and like I try to be somewhat adventurous, but man, just every time you go to a solid Italian place, just get back to the chicken parm. Right? It's just it's going to be great. Travis,
it always does, man.
Travis Demers joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, off the topic of basketball, you pumped for Daniel Jones again?
What are you trying to do to me,
I'm
man?
just saying
you're trying to get me fired up on a Friday in May. No, I'm not fired up about Daniel Jones. I feel the same way about him since I did on draft night. Like the fact that I'm excited that Drew Lock is there to push him tells you everything that you need to know about how I feel about Daniel Jones. Like, I was watching Dan Orlovsky after the draft, and he was saying that the Giants have the worst quarterback room in the NFC, and I don't know that I disagree with him, because who is worse right now? I mean. I would expect them to hopefully draft the quarterback next year, but I don't know much about the guys that are coming out next year. Maybe the kid from Georgia, but God, it's like I don't have any faith. No Saquon. He's in an Eagles uniform, and it's freaking Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. Yay!
All right, as you said that, Ike, I'm trying to think, like. Washington probably has a worse quarterback room, but it might ultimately be better because he got Jaden Daniels. But
I'd take Jaden Daniels over anybody the Giants have.
And then Seattle's quarterback, like, who's he got? You got Geno and Sam Howell.
Geno is a viable start. Geno has been to the – well, I guess Daniel Jones has too, but Geno is a viable starter in the NFL. And, oh, yeah, the Giants had him once.
That's right, they did. You can follow Travis on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Travis Demers. And you're not going to hear him for a while because he's on break right now. It was a long 82 games, and he handled it like a pro. What's the obviously I hear the kids because that's always my cue to wrap up the interview is when either Lincoln or Lawson decides that they're going to hop in and contribute, which I love and appreciate. But that's always a good time to wrap it up. What are the big plans? What do we got? Big plans for the offseason? T-ball,
well,
obviously.
A lot of dad time. Yeah, T-ball is going on right now. Lawson is homesick from school today, so I've got to take him to the doctor in a little bit. He's got a cough and a sore throat. But there's a lot of dad time. We're going to try and get out to the beach at some point, a lot of playing and reconnecting. Hopefully that they remember who I am after this season.
Well, fantastic job this season, bud. Obviously, have a great weekend, have a great offseason. But now that I know you're available, we're going to get you back in the rotation here with some more hot takes, all right?
Yeah, please do. I'm definitely available now, so thanks for having me.
There we go. Travis Demers, the voice of your Portland Trail Blazers. We wrap up the show with the RCM mailbag next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. We do that with the RCM mailbag. That is random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits, and I repeat, will not duck the tough questions. Before we get to the mailbag, Brenden, can you explain to me in 30 seconds or less what is going on with Kendrick Lamar and Drake? Because it's all up in my algorithm.
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't, as you know, I've spent my morning with you, so I haven't jumped over to Spotify to check out.
This has been a thing?
They must have dropped an album, perhaps.
They don't like each other? There's beef?
Let me take a quick moment. This is great radio on the fly, but hey, it's okay.
Well, I just thought because you're in the hip-hop world, and I thought you might.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff.
Sounds like there's some diss tracks going on between the two of them.
Looks like...
Sounds like two guys that maybe were relevant that aren't as relevant as they used to be, trying to remain relevant, is what this sounds like.
Entirely wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it is New Music Friday, so all the new singles come out on Friday. So
yeah, I don't like that.
Not a fan?
I was a New Music Tuesday guy.
Was that what it was when you were?
Yeah. Back in my day. Well, albums came out on Tuesdays.
Makes sense.
Singles just came out when they came out. I don't know, again, because there was no streaming. It was just you turned on the radio and you were like, that song, that hits. And then the albums would come out on Tuesdays. Is when the new albums would come out. Now I get it. You put it out on Spotify or Apple Music or all the streaming on a Friday. People get it. Play it all weekend. I'm a Tuesday guy. Anyways, let's open up the mailbag.
All right, Justin. Something that I teased earlier in the show that I kind of wanted to mention in the mailbag that I learned recently. Did you know that just within the last few years, chicken has become the most popular meat in the United States? Surpassing all beef, pork, fish. And for the longest time, it was beef. And it's basically the first time in our history that America has preferred chicken to beef. And I found that kind of interesting.
All right, let's dive into this a little bit because I would have thought this was happening sooner rather than later. But I guess you got to factor in the whole hamburger thing.
Right.
Is this finally the after effects of Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Wendy's, of the spicy chicken sandwich? Is this of Dave's hot chicken, sometimes not chicken? Is this what's going on here? Is this what we're talking about? Because
I think you also have to look a little bit, Justin, at the generations, right? So it's like when you were growing up, chicken wasn't as widely available.
Well, we had KFC.
Well, I just mean like in everything. Like you couldn't, like you go to any restaurant, there's a chicken sandwich option. Any sports bar, that didn't used to be the case.
Now you used to just get a hamburger.
Right. So I think that's changed a lot. I think the fact that now you've got, I don't know if when you were a kid, Justin, they were pushing every parent to feed their kids chicken nuggets. I don't know. Now they are. So it's like, I feel like
that's a good question.
Right?
Like, McNuggets existed, obviously, and some kids liked the McNuggets. I was a cheeseburger guy.
Right.
I wanted a cheeseburger.
And now I'm
not a hamburger, cheeseburger.
And now I'm willing to
hold
bet
the pickles, please.
There are more chicken-eating kids. Like I look at me. I ate more chicken growing up than any other than fish. And I think that's definitely why I like chicken as my favorite meat as an adult. So I think... I don't know. But I can distinguish.
If I were to rank my personal consumption, I think I'm probably chicken number one.
Yeah, you eat a lot of chicken.
Beef, definitely 2. Had a nice steak last night. Probably pork 3, fish 4 would be my rankings of what I personally consume.
Yeah, I go chicken, fish, pork, beef. But I just found it very interesting.
There's got to be this chicken sandwich thing
when
going
you
on.
think of America, right?
Darn right.
You think of America, you think apple pie, hot dog, hamburger, steak.
Pork. Yeah.
Move over because the chicken has taken over, Justin.
What was
and
that?
I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Like you said, the Chick-fil-A, like 50 years ago, chicken was just not popular. It was... you mean the story of the chicken wing, right? Why the chicken wing came to be.
Yeah, because they threw them away.
Yep. So
they threw them away, so they're like, hey, fry those up and make them spicy.
Yeah, they'll be good.
But
I just found that very, very fascinating when I was like 28 years to yesterday years old when I.
Here's what I will say, because I love a hamburger. I do. I love now. Me personally, if you like go to a restaurant, big juicy, like I don't ever order chicken at a restaurant other than chicken parm at an Italian restaurant. But if there is if it's a,
you won't get chicken wings at a wing place.
I'm saying if there is steak or like roasted chicken, I'm getting steak.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's tacos, I'm probably getting pork tacos or steak tacos before I'm getting chicken tacos.
Interesting.
Fried chicken sandwich might be better than a hamburger.
So let's.
I might be at that point where I believe that a fried chicken sandwich made well is better than a hamburger.
Let's have this conversation. Why is it called a hamburger if it has no ham in it?
I believe it's from Hamburg, Germany, is where it came from. I believe Hamburg is where the process of taking beef and grinding it up.
Okay,
and I believe that's why it's a hamburger.
Why, like as a kid, like your point, Justin, like
why called pineapple? It's not an apple.
Why can't it just be a burger or a cheeseburger? Like, why does it need to be a hamburger? I never quite understood that.
Well, hamburger is the full name.
Yeah.
Just like a frankfurter is what a hot dog used to be called, and then now it's Franks.
Yeah, Americanized.
So it's like Trailblazers or Blazers, right? Both are correct,
but just not Zers.
Don't even.
Yeah, not Zers, man. I've heard some people throw that out there recently, and I've had to kind of correct be like Oscar and
see now
in The Office. Actually,
that is how I feel when Oregon fans say "Sco Ducks."
That's still your thing.
No,
Justin.
it's not.
It is. It belongs to your university. It does.
It's the same as Zers. It's the same. It's like a bunch of new California kids came up and started saying, "Oh no, it's Sco Ducks." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not. It's also not Duck Nation. It doesn't exist. Beaver Nation is a thing. Mike Parker kind of invented it.
I love it. There's actually
Duck Nation, not a thing. Just like Zers isn't a thing.
I don't know, Justin. I'd like to ask a 20-something-year-old diehard Oregon fan if
you can't be a diehard Oregon fan if you're 20. I'm just going to say that right now.
My age.
You cannot.
My age.
If you're in your 20s, you cannot be a diehard fan.
So I can't be a diehard Bieber fan then?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it just gets my goat.
That's a slippery slope, my
If
friend.
you don't know who Kenny Wheaton is, okay?
But
Forget you probably know who Kenny Wheaton is. If you don't know who Ricky Whittle is.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I
would
if
like
you
to
don't
find...
know Danny O'Neal to Christian McLemore, right? I don't want to talk to you. If you don't know Reggie Jordan, you don't know Jeremy Asher, shout out Tigard. If you don't know Rich Rule.
But I would like to find
the Gang Green defense.
I'd like to find the Brenden of the Ducks.
Oh, man.
And just be like, yo, where are you at on SCO? That just simple question. Just like a 28, 29, 30-year-old. Like, okay, we'll check in with this. Chris Burkhart, Oregon alum.
Yeah.
Middle between you and I in age. We're going to check in with Chris. We'll be back with this.
Maybe we'll check in with Chris until he says SCO Ducks, and then I'm like, no, this is not a thing. I've been fighting that so much, and I'm losing. I'm losing every single time. All right. Thanks to Travis Demers, friend of the program, your Blazers play-by-play voice, for joining us early in the show. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific weekend, everybody. 620 Rip City Radio.